Welcome to episode
Welcome back.
25. It's been a little bit since we recorded an episode. We've been just kind of dealing with life, right? Which is okay. It's all part of the journey. But welcome to episode 25. This is Anna Dornier, and I am with.
Mubarak and Sakarija.
And today we're going to talk about um, information overwhelm. Right? We hear from entrepreneurs all the time, like when they're taking a program or being coached or whatever, right? They're saying, I'm overwhelmed, I'm running behind, I have too many distractions, right? And it makes sense in this information world. There's a ton of stuff coming at us. There's a lot of distractions. And so I love that you brought this up, Mubarak, because you like acronyms, and so this I love that it is easy to remember, and I think it sticks when you have acronyms, right? And so um, we found that all of these comments, right, these statements are symptoms that there's just not enough balance with what you're calling ICE or I.C.E. It's not in case of emergency. But Mubarak, what does I stand for?
Yeah, it can be in case of emergency. When you're overwhelmed, that's an emergency, right?
That is so
You
true.
need help, right? You need help, yeah. So ICE, as it is, for the sake of entertaining our listeners and the viewers, this all came from the it's an idiom, or it's an expression here in North America where we say break the ice, right? When you just met someone for the first time, there's that awkwardness of silence. Then you need to break the ice, right? And also here in North America, where I am in Winnipeg, Canada, there is a lot of cold weather, and sometimes there could be ice all over the ocean. So to me, ice is that metaphor of information, right? Like it's just crowded, so much information that you have nowhere to break through and you get overwhelmed, right? So I was like, how do we break that ice? How do we break that overwhelm? How do we break of is it paralysis, right? Where you're just frozen and you can't be able to do, because that was me. That was me myself. Basically, it was a solution born out of a problem I had myself, right? Because I am a student of life. I love running. I love researching a lot. But then I found myself that I was just collecting information, becoming an information junkie and not getting good out of it. Not then I started finding it to my customers and my clients and friends. So, for example, I would share something with someone and they're like, oh, Mubarak, no, that's again something else I need to look at. I'm going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to get distracted. I don't want to go that there. Then I'm like, why this is happening, right? And one moment I had an aha moment. That's how the ice was born. And I was like, yes, we're in information age, right? Yes, the companies are making millions and billions and $1 trillion on that, capitalizing that we don't have enough time. And also they're keeping giving us information. And now FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So you want this information because you don't want to miss out, but at the same time, you're getting overwhelmed with it. So now it's like, okay, what do I do? So there is no kind of a balance, right? So I stands for information, or information, connection, and engagement, right? So by looking at that, let's first look at information, right? As we said, there's abundance. You go to YouTube, oh my God, you can get lost there. Google the same, Instagram the same. So everywhere you go, there is, you go in libraries, look, I have a bunch of books here. All that is information. But the information itself is not going to help us. Why? Because that's what at least I found, right? I found that if you don't have a question or a need of something that you want to solve first, like a connection, to be able to make a connection with that information, right? So you get an information. Let's say a good example, this podcast. Let's use as an example. To you, it's going to be just a bunch of information, or it's going to overload you if you don't have an action step, things that you can connect it to I call transformation, transform this information into your needs and desires. So you got to have that, right? And that's why, if you have been listening to us, we started by setting goals, right? So now let's say you have goals where you want to go, you have things you want to achieve, then you go out there looking for information to connect to that thing, right? Or through what we have talked about here, you have this question, how do I do this? You know, the how question, right? Which is, I find most people get stuck to that question. If there is a lot of information, why do we get stuck with that question? But how do I do this? I don't know how to do this, but there is a lot of information. You know why? Because you haven't connected with the right who knows how to do. It's not about how I do this. Who do I know who has the right information, right skills that can help me? You see, so it's still another connection. You either connecting this information to your goals and desires, to things that you want to achieve, or you're seeking information by asking who has the right information that I don't have to go learn a bunch of information that I can connect with.
Yeah.
Right. So now becomes a matter of connecting. As long as you miss that step of connecting this information to something that you want, to your values, to your goals, to your desires, to your relationship, then yes, you're going to get overwhelmed, because you're getting overwhelmed because there is a blockage, there is a stopping, like information comes, boom, it doesn't have a system, a connection to materialize it in another way, to make a transformation.
Yeah. To
There has
manifest
to be
it.
to manifest into something tangible.
Yeah.
Right. Again, this is another looked about those things, right? The hierarchy, knowledge hierarchy, right? Starting from energy, right? We went to the symbols, we went to information, we went to knowledge, right? Wisdom, right? So there has to be a connection that escalates you this, right? Again, this is things that we have covered really intensively in on this podcast. You can go check it out in the past podcasts, or comment below. Someone will be able to help you answering that. So now you have made a connection, which most people, this is what they do, right? And I'm going to use an example that me and Anna were familiar with, and we may have experience in it, right? So I'm using a relationship, right? People, I have had this to new couples, right? Says, especially women, for whatever reason, I don't know why, says, Mubarak, but before I got married to my husband, we always had things to do, right? We're always engaged and doing stuff, but now we got married, everything permitted. To me, I'm like, welcome to your world. It's not only you, because yes, it's now your husband you're concerned about it, but it's not only happening there. It happens even in friendship. You reach a stage where you become comfortable. You're waiting. Oh, I'm going to wait Anna to call me. Oh, I'm going to wait John to make a move, right? That's the engagement part. You got to take 100% ownership of the engaging yourself with the new connection that you made. Because if you don't engage the new connection that you just made, it's going to disappear, because you haven't built a habit, right? You haven't built a strong habit to make it part of you. So it's like anything. We have known people, like, they get excited for the new stuff, but then it dies off, the excitement. It's because that new connection, you just created neurons here, but you're not making them permanent. It's just temporary, right? So that's why I say, now you have information, you made a connection. Don't just get excited about the new connection you just made. Engage it, right? Frequently, as much as possible. Then when you have done that, over time, it's going to become a habit. Then you don't even have to think about it. Right? Then you repeat, if you want to go to the next level, you repeat the same thing, new information, make connection, engage with that connections as often as possible until you build a habit. you keep repeating it, and that's how you transform into whatever way. That's how you achieve your goals. That's when you have, if it's a relationship, that's when your relationship keeps being younger and younger, right?
Yeah.
Instead of being stagnant. If it's a business, that's how your business grows, right? Because you need to learn and then make a connection with whatever service or product you're providing and keep engaging with it. You don't go to, we have seen this, Anna, people go to funnel hack events or go to whatever events and they're excited. Oh my God, oh, we're going to change the world. Tomorrow morning, then, hello, anyone here? Gone, disappeared,
Yeah.
right?
Not only
Yeah.
that, they probably bought something at that event and they're probably not using it to its full potential because they don't know how to connect and engage with it, right?
Mhm.
So I so love this conversation because it brings up the experience I had just last week around a project that we're working on. We're basically, and we're actually going to talk about one of them on the next episode, which is we have these bonuses for new bonuses for our Alpha Academy program. And literally, when I came up with the titles and all that stuff and the description of the bonuses, like I didn't even know what the bonuses were going to be about. And it took a while to kind of marinate on it. And it took a tool, a lot of writing, a lot of kind of tuning in, you know, as to what will this look like and all that. So that it's like the most effective for this program for the people taking it, right? And it's amazing that one tool, it's a free tool, it's called Obsidian, that you actually have been using. I didn't find out about it until last week, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the best tool ever, and it's free, and it's so easy to use, and basically it connects your ideas. So you have the information. I had the information written down in my notes, right, in my journal, which I tend to take a lot. Whenever ideas come to mind, I just write them down, right, so that I don't lose it. But they were disconnected, right? So now I use Obsidian to connect my thoughts. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. Like now you can see how do you call this? Your ideas actually coming together. And now we have this entire system that ultimately um you know, at the other end of it, like you said, they will have a transformation when they engage with that system of bonuses, right? So that's that in like a specific example, if you want a specific example, right? And I like the thing that you talked about yesterday as far as as far as the percentage of in terms of ICE. So if you're just getting information, what does that look like percentage wise in terms of how useful that information is going to be for you?
Yeah, as I was saying yesterday, I look at ICE as itself as a 90%, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole system itself, right? You bring in 10%, the system is 90%, right?
Mm,
So if you just got information only, you have 30%,
yeah.
right? And this is where we have a problem, right? We have people who have collected information, calling themselves experts, calling themselves that they, whatever names nowadays that they choose to call themselves, right? But it's just information that anyone else can go out there and get, right? It's just, you just have 30% of the game,
Yeah.
right? Where's the other 60? The other 60 requires you to act, to take action, right? You
Yeah.
know, then when you have the information and starting making connection, which is, again, yesterday we were talking about context versus content, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
this information is just information. So
Yeah.
you got to have context around this information to make it useful, right? You can't do that without making connection,
Yeah.
right? So whatever connection you make with it, let's say you have a recipe, right? If you don't translate that recipe into shopping list that you have the things tangible, you can't say that, oh, I know how to make this. No, you haven't done the, so you need to connect it, translate it, that information that it's a recipe into a shopping list, then go buy those lists of ingredients, right? And then
Yeah.
start connecting them to make the outcome that you want. You see, there is engagement too there. So you can't bring all those things and put on a table and start looking at them and think that you're going to manifest whatever that recipe was. Let's say if it was a cake recipe. Oh, I have the egg, I have the flour, I have everything. Okay, where's the cake? No, it's not going to happen. So that's what you are doing with the information, right? You're just correcting information and you're like, oh, I have everything, so I know how to make a cake. No, you don't. You gotta
Yeah.
now start mixing those things, connecting them with your hands, whatever tools. And then at the end, there is a transformation from a recipe to a cake on a table. You see?
Yeah.
So it has to go through that transformation. So the
Yeah.
same things with you. So now, voila, 90% cake. I think a 90% cake is delicious. It doesn't need to be 100%. It just need to be 90%, right? So the same thing. So what is it that you're looking for? And here's a secret, right? And if you're following us, you're seeing it, right? Go on Instagram, go on to, what's that name? TikTok, or go to YouTube, and here you're listening to us, watching us, right? Do you know what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen? We had information, we learned from our teachers and everything, but then how are we making connection and engaging with you? We're showing up, sharing, right? So we are forced to, because we can't come here and start to show up and share if we haven't translated it to make sense to you, right? So you do the same. You do the same. You go learn something with intent to teach it, with intent to sharing it, right? Because then when you share it, it's not like picking up a book and giving to someone. No, you're sharing them your experience. You're sharing them. That's the connection I'm talking about. That's the context that you need to be able to transform this information to. So do you see now that you'll never be overwhelmed? Because now you have what to do with the information. But if you're just consuming without outside, like, then you become a reservoir, right? Which is another metaphor I like using. A reservoir gets contaminated. That's why you get overwhelmed. But when you become a liver, right? Because there is a saying that there's no human being that can step in a liver twice. Why? It's always moving.
Yeah.
So now, if this information is coming through you and is not gonna get stuck, and you can let it out by transforming it into a podcast, transforming it into a post, transforming it into a course, transforming it in any other form that someone else can benefit from, you'll never be overwhelmed again. Transform it into a product or service, right? All of you who are listening to us, you have a lot of information that can be transformed into something that people will find value in it, and you'll be willing to pay, exchange for them to have it.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to add around the engagement aspect is it has to be an aligned engagement. This is where the context part comes in, right? Because you could be working something specifically on your business, for example, and the information that you're learning, how can you apply that to the thing, the project that you're working on in your business at the right time, right? And then how can you then avoid the distractions of any other information around that time that will distract you from accomplishing that specific goal or finishing that specific project, right? Because sometimes we don't need more, most of the time we don't need more information, right? We say we need to be reminded more than taught. So it's like, what does that information remind you? Or and then how can you connect it to whatever project it is that you're working on? Or like you said, who's the right person for it? If you're the right person for it, is it the right next step to implement? Is it the right action, then right next action to take to finish and get you closer to the finish line of whatever project it is that you're working on in your business, right? Because I like that email that you forwarded to me today. It's like, as entrepreneurs, we just get busy with the day-to-day tasks, and we forgot that we became an entrepreneur because we're passionate about a cause. We're passionate about a specific thing. We have some gifts and talents that no one else has that we're the best at, right? And then we stop doing those things and we wonder why we jump from project to project. Um, because we stop paying attention to what actually brings us more joy, what brings us more fun and entertainment in our life, right? So yeah, so that's what I wanted to add. In when you're thinking of the engagement, ask yourself, is it the next right step for you, or is this the next right step for maybe another person who's the best person to do that specific task or job in your business?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. What I wanted also to share is the best way to stop you from getting overwhelmed or even to start disliking learning, right? Which is a process of processing information, right? Um, Again, we talked about this, me and Anna, yesterday, about most people, when they're learning, they have a notebook to not forget that information.
Mm-hmm.
Its purpose is, oh, I don't want to forget this. Let me write it down. So, ladies and gentlemen, how many of those do you have? How many notes do you have? Right? You know, you had Anna talking about Syrian, which is another tool that doesn't make you just correct information. It makes connection with information that you're taking notes. So instead of now, maybe you can go YouTube about Obsidian. There is a lot of tutorial, and it's a free program. You don't need to subscribe anything. You can download on your computer and start using it. So instead of creating not to forget list, because you'll never forget, this information is on YouTube, it's in a book, you know, you can always come back to it. Create a to-do list, of the things that you're going to do right now, right? What I'm reading right now, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
Right? So then you are obligated to take action on that information instead of correcting it, because just that, I call it re-engineering, is going to shift everything about your overwhelm. I promise you can't be overwhelmed when you're taking action. I haven't seen anyone who gets overwhelmed or get procrastinated when they're taking action. No. So before, say, okay, I have this problem that I want to solve. Now I'm going to go look for information about it. Then, as you are going through the information, don't create a remember list. Oh, I want to remember this. No, create a to-do list. Say, how can you take this information and answer this problem, solve this problem that you have, whatever problem is. So now you're creating, say, okay, oh, I can do this about it. Okay, I'm going to do this about it. And then don't take 24 hours without acting on that list.
Yeah. Do something
Even if
immediately.
you do something immediately about it, you
Yeah.
know,
No matter how
yes,
small it is.
no matter how small it is,
Yeah.
because then you're cementing those three things. You corrected information, you made a connection, now you're engaging it. You just finish the loop. Now, the goal is to create as many loops as possible towards attaining the desired results that you're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. It's so good. In the more like you said, the more that you do it, the more that you build that habit. And when you take that first action step, it just like builds that confidence in you as well, right? Because when you're taking action, you said you won't feel overwhelmed when you're taking action. You also won't feel stuck when you're taking action, right? Because you're in motion, like you're literally in motion, right? Physics says an object that stays in motion, that is in motion stays in motion unless an outside force acts on it, right? So it's the same way with humans. We're no different, right?
Yeah.
But the only thing is that you are the source of that action. Nothing else is.
Yes. Yes.
So, I mean, I think that's a great discussion for this episode. We hope you learned some great things. If you have any questions about this, just let us know. The acronym again is Inform, Connect, Engage, or Information Connection Engagement, depends on what context you're using in, right? So use it as a tool, right? On how are you dealing with information right now? When you're learning something, are you stopping at informing? Are you connecting it to something and are you engaging with it as well? Right? Then to make that 90% and then to make that loop. So use that as an assessment tool so that when you're feeling overwhelmed or feeling stuck, ask, where am I in terms of my percentage
Mhm.
in terms of ice? So easy to do, right? So it's something that you can do at the end of your day. I like the debrief idea, right? When you're finished an event, finish a project, finish a team meeting, whatever it is, if you are able to debrief, you know, what can I do better? What did I do that went well? What can I do better? And then how can I what's a problem that I've determined, and then what's a potential solution? So like those are some questions, potential questions, but use that as an assessment tool, and then see how it helps you become more productive. And in terms of productivity, I just want to put this in there because we're going to record our next episode. On the next episode, we're going to take your productivity to the next level, like way beyond. There's going to be some aha moments. So be sure that after you listen or watch this episode, wherever you are, that you don't forget to come back and watch the next episode. So
Mhm.
this has been Organic Reach X.
We show you how to go with the flow organically in your business.
Awesome. See you next time.
See you next time.